The following is an exclusive production of Minutemen Command. The Flagship Pod with your hosts, ESPN personalities Mike Corey and Rene Ingoglia, is on the air. Brought to you by Todd Fritz Roofing, with insight and info from UMass and MAC insiders. From the Command Studios, here are your hosts, Mike and Rene.
What's up, everybody? Rene, this is what I want you working on this week. Did you see it, the Dunkin'?
So I had coffee this morning. All our, you know this because you've been in my house, all our Keurigs, my wife buys Dunkins. They're Dunkin' pods. You saw me dancing. The intro music's catchy, and I'll get you going a little bit. But it's my birthday. It's my birthday week, too, you know?
It is your birthday week. I got it right here on my planner, Friday.
Yeah, I'm getting old.
23rd, Rene.
That's right. Friday, May 23rd.
Yeah, see, that's so Mike and Rene run on Dunkin'. That's at our next spot.
We do. And it's funny because everywhere we go, even if we're not together, even separately, we always get into discussions with people we work with about coffee. Because there's some coffee snobs, people. Anywhere I go, I get in conversations with coffee. And you know me. Yeah. I because of 20 plus years in law enforcement, I drink a lot of coffee. So I'll drink any coffee. I'll never turn coffee down. You do. You can be hotel coffee. You're very picky, which I get. Me, I drink anything, but especially if it's free. But I do prefer Dunkin' Donuts. That is my preferred coffee.
That's why I love you. And fans, so you know, Rene will never pay for Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Every time we're together, I take care of it because former police officer, you don't pay for coffee. But no, that's great. Yeah, Mike and Rene run on Dunkin'. We're gonna get that in a spot.
And actually, we saw each other last week. We talked about that. You were down here, a little women's lax. Florida Gators women won. Then you came down, grabbed a little dinner, had coffee after dinner as well.
Yeah, it was over in Gainesville, quarterfinals. Florida beat Duke. A little furious comeback from Duke there, but they won by a couple.
So people know though. What do you got left in this? I can't. It's unbelievable that basically summer's here. It's been 95 degrees plus here in Orlando. I'm actually absolutely aggravated. It's too hot. Sorry for you people up north that want it hotter, but it's too hot down here. But what do you got left in your ESPN season?
That's it for right now. No, this is that's it for me. That was kind of like the last game until probably the fall for football, unless they need me for anything in the summertime. I got a couple events we do in the summer, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that schedule. You know what I mean? Like. We talk about this all the time, like fans, like Rene and I, we're always talking about games and this and that, contracts, money, whatever. And it's like, you can make more, you can do more, but it's like, I don't want to do 100 games. You know what I mean? Like, of course you would make more money. I don't. Like, I looked at it from, I think, November through March, because that's kind of the busy time with football still going on and I do basketball. I was like doing like 55 basketball games from like November to March. It's like, that's a lot. And I was done, you know what I mean? So like, if you tried to continue that for another 5-6 months, like I'd be meat.
And for people that don't know, so the play-by-play people, men and women like Mike at ESPN and really all networks, but we're talking about ESPN. You guys will work anywhere from 60. Some people go over 100 events. And to Mike's point, you never get time off. I mean, because you're going to go like most like football, basketball, and then you have lacrosse, you have baseball, softball. Courtney Lyle, who's my partner this year with you, Mike, does women's volleyball. And so like you can work a lot. So someone like me that does 20, 22 football games a year, which is a lot of football games, I pack in my football season. I am slam packed. But then after that, I can just kind of decompress, reset. And so now when it gets to like May, now I'm hungry, right? I want, especially with no spring game this year. Now we went up and we kicked this podcast off at the UMass spring game, but there's usually an ESPN spring game that kind of knocks the cobwebs off. We didn't have that this year. So I am raring to go. And again, we're a couple months away from media days. And I think I saw on social media, we're less than 100 days from the first game. So
we're gonna have to have a little countdown clock, like on your wall or something like that, with like countdown to kickoff.
We'll have to put that up there. We'll put a countdown clock to Temple.
Countdown to week 1 at Temple. Exactly right. No, it was good catching up with you last week as we were down in Orlando for a little bit. hanging out. Gainesville, it's like what? It's like it's kind of in the middle there.
2 hours. There's no traffic. An hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. It all depends. And I live on the east side of Orlando. That's the other thing too. I live on the east side of Orlando, which is where the airport is.
Right.
You come in on the west side of Orlando, it's 30 minutes quicker. So it all depends on where you're going.
I know it's kind of a funny thing for you. It's like a little bit annoying because, like, you're in Orlando, so everybody's like, "Oh, Disney," and you're always over there, and you're like, "It's not close. It's not
Disney." And so Disney would be like South, Orlando, and it's. Listen, Orlando is much like every other major city, and where you're basically like 30, 45 minutes from everything. It's kind of what it is. You know what I mean? And
it's good.
I know for some people you're like, oh, it's 30 minutes away. It's 40 minutes away. That's kind of the norm, So
next time I'll head back over to the Gridiron Ranch.
Right
over there.
See the dogs. They're all laying around here.
They're not making any noise. They're being pretty
sleeping. I have 4 in here right now. They're all sound asleep. All sleeping.
See, they're so used to your voice, it doesn't matter like how loud you are there.
And they know, the dogs know, like when my voice raises because I'm mad at something, they all scatter.
You mean it's louder than right now?
They know who the alpha is in the family. So
hey, a lot of good stuff going on this week. We got some transfers coming in, right? We'll talk about that. We got the special teams coordinator. We're going to play that interview, Joe Castellitto, and then our Australian kicker, Keegan Andrews, right?
So just so viewers and listeners know, this is the last last pod of the interviews that we did at spring weekend.
Yep.
And like you said, Joe Castellitto, brand new special teams coach. And we talk about it, right? Special teams was a sore subject for UMass fans. This is, and we'll get into it after the interview too, but it's just a slam dunk hire. It's a quick interview, but to the point. He's a kind of a matter of fact guy, and which I love for special teams. But we'll break that interview down after you guys listen to it here in a few minutes, and then Keegan Bradley, did I say?
Andrews.
I'm thinking golf. Keegan Bradley,
golf.
The Ryder Cup captain. Keegan Andrews, big Australian punter. Love that interview, and we'll break that down. But you mentioned it. Some news that just made. So one of the things UMass football team wanted to do was kind of shore up that running back room.
Yep.
There were some pieces that left, and so Juwan Price was a player they signed, well-traveled, he's via North Texas, which is plays in the American, Syracuse, and New Mexico State. It's kind of been a lot of places, but he has experience. He's a really nice addition, 5'10", 210-pounder, really good back. So great addition to that room. Brandon Hood was another one we signed from Colorado. I don't know much about him, but so 2 running back signees. And then this podcast will air Wednesday because we drop it on Wednesdays. We're actually recording this on Tuesday, just the day before. So literally 15 minutes ago, before we jumped on this pod, Donnie Gray, a wide receiver, UMass just signed from Northwestern. He's a New England kid, from New Haven, Connecticut, but played at Deerfield Academy, which is 15 minutes from Amherst?
Yeah, right up the road.
And played for Coach Bajakian, the offensive coordinator at Northwestern. So familiarity there. So a nice little pickup at the wide receiver, who I already think is a really good, strong wide receiver room for UMass. Another really nice addition. So I love the fact that Coach Harris-Simiak and his staff, there's no lay down here in the portal. They have worked hard in this offseason. And again, guys, keep it in context. Me and Mike talk about this all the time. I constantly remind Mike, and I remind other people, in the portal, we are dealing in context of the back, right? Who we're playing against, our other group of 5 competition, some of the American schools, UConn. That is who you're dealing with. You're not going to compete with the Power Fours. You're just not. And if we're lucky enough to grab someone with Power Four potential, let's hope he has a great season. And then the Power Fours want to come and grab him, because that's the way football works now.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is why it's so important. And I think we all knew this, to get into a conference. Okay, it's the MAC. That's what we're in right now. Okay, that's not probably we're going to stay forever, of course, whatever. But like, now you actually have a level of competition where you can bring in players and say, hey, here's who we're kind of playing against. Here's the kind of type of player we're going to bring in. Because when you're not in a conference, right, and you're not Notre Dame, we're independent. We're not Notre Dame, but we're independent. And you try to recruit players. So like, Yeah, well, who are we measuring up against? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to get a 5-star guy, and then you're not even going to get probably someone who would match up in that level of competition because you don't even know who you're like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's to add on to that, and we talked about it. You're in a conference, you're recruiting, you can play for a conference championship, you got a ton of bowl tie-ins, okay? And the other thing for coaching staff too, now you zero in on conference teams, right? Yeah, I know.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we were playing MAC, but they weren't conference opponents, so you really weren't sure. Now that you're in there, you know who you're going to play each and every year. It's easier scouting the teams. You're all playing each other. So much better. And you mentioned something, too, about staying in the MAC. I mean, none of us know what college football every year from now. It's ever changing, right? But I live in Orlando. 15 minutes down the road is UCF football, okay? A lot of people don't know this. UCF, not that long ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they were independent. They went from independence. They went, and I'm probably going to screw the order up, but they were in the MAC. They were in the MAC. UCF was in the MAC. A lot of people don't even know that. You probably didn't even remember that, Mike.
No,
they were in the MAC from down here in Florida. Then they went to Conference USA. Then they were briefly were going to be in the Big East, but then it turned into the American. Now they're in the Big 12. And they got the Big 12, because it was in the papers down here, did exceptionally well with their TV deal and just their bowls and playoff, the whole 9 yards. UCF, first year in the Big 12, only got a half share. They got $21 million for that half share.
It's a
pretty good payout for a half share.
Look, that's a great example. I mean, that's a great example. But what you said it, though, it took like 20 years or whatever. Now, and we can't go back in time. We can't go back and say, the last 10, 12, 15 years, whatever it was, when we got into FBS. We all know it was mismanaged. It didn't start out the way it needed to. Move it on. But so you can't really start the clock 12 years ago. But if you do it now, hey, 5 years later, 10 years later, just like what you're talking about, it could be something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's still UCF. Is that like the largest enrollment in the entire nation still?
I think it is now.
Besides Liberty or whatever, but like there's like 67,000 people.
If it's not the number one, it's one of the tops. We're talking like 60, 70,000 undergrad. It's big.
No, it's great. It's great. No, it's a great example. So look, we're excited. We're going to take it from here and see what happens.
And that's a perfect segue, Mike. So before we kick off these interviews, there was an article that came out last week in The Athletic. Matt Baker was the writer. I spoke to him on the phone. I was he spoke to over 20 people for this article. I spoke to him for well over an hour on the phone. He's from Tampa. He's got no dogs in the fight. He had no, real knowing of UMass football, UMass athletics coming into this article. He's just a national writer for The Athletic. They cover Group of Five. He thought it would be an interesting article. He did a ton of research. If you read the article, you already know that. Did a ton of research, was up there for the spring game. And basically the crux of the article was, why is the school so good? The flagship of the university system, UMass, how are they not good at football? Why have they stumbled? And so that's the $1 million question we've all asked. So I bring that up in saying, if you haven't read the article, go find it. It was in the New York Times. New York Times owns The Athletic, but you can find it at The Athletic. I thought it was a really good article. There were some comments on social media that we're going to get into. Some people that you think that would support the program. Go read the article. Next week's show, Mike and I are basically going to break down that article from top to bottom, soup to nuts, give you our opinion. Mike will give you his opinion on the article, what we agree with, what we don't, if we agree with the whole thing or not. And so check that article out. But that's going to be next week's show. But that was a good setup for that, Mike.
Yeah, it's a good call because, now there's national people talking about, hey, what's going on here? You're right. Like, it's time to make a change. They have made a change. There's going to be, something different going on here. So read that article. You're absolutely right. We'll talk about it next week.
And it's so fascinating because Matt Baker, like I said, outside fresh eyes, right? He's not tainted by anything that's been going on. He comes in, he does all his research, and I thought it was a really good article. But you guys read it, be the judge, and then me and Mike are going to break it down next week. But without further ado, how about, I think, and we have the great Zeke Altman producing for us today. I think we're going to start with Joe Castellitto, the new special teams coach. Great little interview Mike and I had with him at Spring Weekend.
What's up, Coach? Good to see you.
Great to see you guys.
Welcome to New England here. And now from Utica, and we were just talking to Jared about this. So did you miss him there at your time?
Yeah,
right?
I missed him by just a year.
Okay.
I've heard rumors about him prior. So.
Okay. Well, what have you heard?
Some things good, some things
Tell us a little bit about it. So Jared Kite, the defensive coordinator, and Joe here both went to Utica. But what was your time period? 17 and 18.
Yeah,
right, because you graduated and you get your master's too.
Yeah,
right?
so I played there, and then played there in 2013 to 2017. Got my master's, GA'd there, and it was an awesome experience. I got to be honest with you guys. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's actually funny. I was talking about it with one of the young GAs today. My head coach my freshman year, I was kind of hanging out with the wrong guys, and he came up to me. I was 18 years old, and he's like, "You're going to coach for me one day." And I was like, "Really?" And then 3 years later, found myself in his office, and I was coaching for him. So.
And then stopped hanging out with the wrong guys, right? Yeah, that's
exactly.
right.
And 10 years after that, you're still coaching, so that's a good thing.
No doubt.
Yeah, tell us about how you kind of got here. You know, the relationships, the people you know. How does it all transpire? Take us back to, when you got the call and what happened.
Absolutely. So it was kind of random for me. So last year in early July, Coach Kite actually called me, and they were going to try to hire me on defense at Rutgers for like a defensive line job. So it came down to me and a couple other people. I didn't have any D-line experience. But they were really interested in me, and I decided to stay at Dartmouth to coordinate special teams. And after the season, Coach Kite hit me up and was like, "Hey, this might be happening." Coach Harris-Simiak called me. He didn't even really interview me. He was like, "Hey, I want you to be the guy. I heard a lot about you." We had a pretty high PFF grade last year on special teams. Nice. And he's like, "I'm going to call you tomorrow. Let's talk for maybe 20 minutes. Tell me how you're going to motivate the players." And called him. I spoke for about 6 or 7 minutes, and he's like, "All right, you're the guy. How much money do you want?" So that's
great.
So it was awesome. It was my fastest interview I've ever had, which I love.
That's how it works for us too in our jobs, right? How much money we want, we just tell them we get it.
That's not how it works. So I'm not just saying this, okay? So I'm sure you heard it. For all the UMass fans that are watching this podcast, special teams was a sore subject last year. It was rough. It was rough to say the least. It is what it is. I've heard from probably more than 3 people already this spring that have said how good they think your special teams unit is. And now I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but that's a good sign because I know the UMass fan base, that is one. And listen, it's a third of the game. I know it's cliche, offense, defense, special teams, but it really is, especially when you're a program that's trying to get over that hump and get to a bowl game and compete for a conference championship. You need to have standout special teams. And a lot of it, you correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of it's just effort and getting people to run to the ball and, getting that kicking game going. So how has your special teams excelled this spring?
Absolutely. So to me, special teams always starts from the top down. So Coach Harris-Simiak, the way he talks about it, the way he promotes it within the program, he's invested in it. Yep. That's obviously, to me, that's always going to be the most important. And I've been fortunate. We've had a lot of success everywhere I've been in special teams. To me, it starts with, up top, and then the culture has to be strong. So getting the guys really excited to do it. So what we spend a lot of time on is not treating special teams as its own entity, but treating it as offense and defensive skills combined into one. But we just happen to be kicking a ball on that play. So, we brought in some new guys. We've got some guys playing some different positions and things like that. And, there's some specialists that have really impressed me this spring, which have been great. But the guys seem really bought into the culture of it. And I wish you guys could be a part of our meetings. They're pretty energetic.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, to your point, we all say it like, oh, yeah, it's important. But I don't think we're backing it up enough. You and I, we've done this. We did games last year. We always just get the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach in our meetings. I wish I started doing this 15 years ago. I've been asking
meeting with
last year.
Coaches.
I want the special teams coordinator every week because the amount of stuff that you learn and figure out and find out because we know this. We lost games last year.
How many big plays?
Lost games last year because of special teams. So it's hugely important. And then the things that we learned about. What about trying to get the guys that you want over from each side of the ball, and then what the other coaches are saying, hey,
so the coordinators will they give up their players? How's that been?
Because injuries and stuff. How does that work?
They've been great, and honestly, that's part of it. You got to be fluid with that process when it comes to the special teams depth chart. If a guy's playing a lot on offense, you're not going to use him on too many.
Yeah.
But Coach said starters are going to play special teams, so we're going to throw our best guys out there and. our punt team obviously is going to have a bunch of starters on there. And then after that, I'll try my best to manage it and figure it out.
Well, you've made it as a program when you have an Australian punter. So we got that.
Yeah,
here.
you got
Another one coming in. There you go.
Everybody have to be from Australia
He's
to kick
awesome.
the ball now.
He's the best.
Yeah, that's great. No, that's great. Look, I mean, like you said, I think it's like, tell me about the fundamentals of taking care of like business, just to not like have losing games and things because of it. And then how do you go over the top and like make plays and like make a difference plays? You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Absolutely.
keeping your base and then, hey, how do we change culture here? Or like,
No doubt. So for me, every meeting that we start off with, our guys start off with the chant where it's they yell take and the rest of the team says the ball. Win the field, because winning the game of field position is absolutely huge. That's the underlying factor. Like you were talking about earlier, it is the big plays, but where does the offense and defense start with the ball?
Sure.
And we really decide that. And the last thing to talk about is breaking the game. So making big plays within special teams. So if you block a punt, you have an 85% chance to win that game. And we were fortunate at Dartmouth. We blocked 6 in 20 games, which is a pretty high percentage. And
Yeah, it is.
games, we blocked 7 field goals. You're going to win the football game. So we're pretty exotic with some things that we do, especially on punt. If you guys have an opportunity to come out to practice, we're going to run a bunch of different formations and whatnot.
Cool.
I think that gets the guys excited about it.
Yeah.
And our objective is really to keep teams uneasy on what we're going to present to them each week. So when I first started special teams, I actually started off in the punt block aspect of it. And what made me most frustrated is when teams came out in a bunch of different formations. So I said, okay, that's annoying for me. Let me be annoying for
Let
them.
me be annoying.
So, that's kind of the premise of our punt. We're not always pocket punt. We'll roll out. We'll do some different things. But, we'll vary out what we're doing.
And that's one of the things I heard is the amount of schemes that you have for your special teams unit. And I think that the UMass fans are going to really enjoy it and appreciate that next season for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be talking to you throughout the year, Joe. Thanks a lot,
Thanks,
man.
Coach.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate
Great
it.
seeing you.
It's fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so I was just writing this down like he was talking, like the different scenarios, the amount of different scenarios of a game that involves special teams. And we all know them, but you just don't hear them in sequence often enough to recognize how important that this area is. Okay, so there's obviously punting and punt coverage, right? Got to have a great punter, got coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's punt return. Hey, how are we doing on, punt return? Like, are we making plays, making a guy get a good run on a return?
Both deal with field position.
Yep. Kickoff and kickoff coverage. Oh, we don't kick it out of bounds, give them great field position. Hey, are we stopping them? Are we letting them run it back for a touchdown, which is what happened last year.
Yep.
Okay. And then kickoff return. What's our sequence on kickoff return? How are we getting good field position on kickoff return? Field goal offensively in your team, so it doesn't get blocked and whatever. And then how about defensively? Field goal block, right? Can we make a play there?
Yeah.
PAT. Not a gimme anymore, got to hit PAT. And then PAT block. I mean, there's like, that's 8 different groups, if you will, for me. Like, and all it takes is one to screw it up, and you gave up a touchdown. You got a block. You got shitty field position, right? I mean, it's not hard to
listen. He said something in there which coaches have said to me before, and I absolutely love. So as a coach, you say to yourself, okay, if I'm trying to defend something, if I'm trying to stop something, what gives me the most problems? And he said that, right? He goes, this always drove me nuts on punt block when I got all these different formations and looks, and he does that. So he's like, well, I'm going to do that because if it bothered me, I know it's going to bother the other coach. So that's one of the biggest things you're going to see with this special teams unit is different looks, different schemes, different formations, which I love. He truly is, a lot of times programs, we talked about it. You have the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and then you have a special teams coach. No. He's a special teams coordinator. It is important. And UMass fans know how important it is. And listen, we get a good young Power 5 coach. He was going to Rutgers, Power 4. He was going to Rutgers. He was going to the Big Ten. Harris Simiak gets the job. They're able to get him at UMass. So, and I know you want to ask me this. So he led the Ivy League. Their special teams led the Ivy League. They were number 1. They had a PFF score of 90. And that 90 also made them the 5th best special teams group in all of FCS football.
Yeah. What's that mean? PFF.
So Pro Football Focus, PFF.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's kind of evolved, and they do analysis and breakdowns, statistical breakdowns I'm not going to pretend to say I know how they statistically break it down because I don't. But they have a whole PFF, even though it's Pro Football Focus, they have a whole college football division that grades players, grades units, and that's what that 90 grade is from PFF for what he did. And you heard what he said. They blocked, 6 kicks in 20 games?
20
right?
games, yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, and I've said this on other podcasts, and this really isn't going out on a limb. UMass special teams is going to be night and day better. And I said this, and this is kind of going on a limb. I think they will be the reason UMass wins 1 or 2 games for sure.
Yeah.
Whether it's the easy one is, a last-second field goal to win it. But I just think there's going to be a game when you look back at field position, maybe a block here, right? Yeah. A good return here where you say, man, special teams really won that game for them.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be talking about it all season long. We'll track it, as we do our breakdown each and every week. Win the field. Take the ball, break in the game. Yep. Yeah, we'll see. We'll just do your job first, and then can we make a play? We'll see what happens. And speaking more of that, like in the kicking game, right? Keegan Andrews, the Australian.
Yeah, without further ado.
With the Australian, we're here. We finally got one now. Are we good?
I thought you were going to do an Australian accent there for a second.
I don't have that.
Listen, Keegan, I said earlier, all right, UMass football, we're transitioning into the MAC. It's a new year. It's a new age. And we finally made it because we have an Australian punter now.
Oh yeah, it's I'm really really glad to be here, and everything that I was taught since coming here is just like they're in need of a bit of a boost in special teams, and that's my goal. That's my goal this year. So.
All right. So how does this happen? You're over there. All of a sudden, this is the new thing. Well, it's been this way for a little while now. But so what's it like when you're there and you're like, I got to get over to America and play football, right? I mean, this.
Yeah,
it's like the thing now. I mean,
how is it like?
There's a pipeline now, right?
It's definitely building. There's a lot of guys that are actually growing up and realizing, wow, there's a pathway. There's a real pathway to come to America and experience college life, and that's something college isn't the same in Australia. It's just education, go home and get your stuff done, and there's no.
It's
college
fun here, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's definitely there's so much more passion and culture in America.
So. I got to ask you, did you play rugby or Australian rules football or both?
Australian rules football. Never got around to rugby.
Okay.
It was always just Aussie rules, and that's just where I learned to kick. Pretty much played that 18 years of my life.
All right, so who's talking to you? How are you getting recruited? How is that buzz going on over there? What's that like?
Well, we pretty much joined the Academy Pro Kick, and that's pretty much we train with them for a while. And through that process, you sort of learn, because the balls are different. The American football is a lot different than the AFL football. So, it's just getting used to that shape, how that connects with your foot. And it's a bit of a process. And basically, we trust a lot in our coaches, and where we basically show them how we kick, build that technique, and then they go, all right, we think this guy's ready for this so-and-so school, and you're basically proving yourself.
Listen, we heard that the practice bubble, you can't hold you. It's not big enough for you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good little facility they got in there. It's sometimes hit the roof, but it's a goal. If I hit the roof, it's going to be probably a good ball.
That's right. Smack it against.
We talked to Coach Castellitto, the special teams coach, earlier, and we've heard nothing but rave reviews about special teams in general. So give us, and you've been at Texas A&M, you've been in other programs, so give us your take on the special teams as a whole this spring.
Yeah, I think there's a huge emphasis that that everybody here has around special teams, and they that was pretty much brought to us really quickly. And my roommate Marcus Lai is a kicker here, and I was on the same official visit as him. Mm-hmm. And from the jump, it was we need to boost these special teams, and we just felt really wanted. And from the jump, our special teams unit and the room that we've got is really, really passionate. We all have a drive. I can't wait to see what this group does.
All right, so look, we're always about being positive here on the show. Him and I are like this all the time, even on the air. I just want to know kind of what it was like for you at Texas A&M. Why'd you end up leaving? Whatever you want to tell us about that. I mean, it must be crazy there.
Yeah, it was. To experience what college culture was and college football especially, I think that experience I'll remember for the rest of my life. It's the passion that those fans have, and being at Texas A&M was great. I loved the time there. Obviously, I wish I could have started. That was obviously the goal. I never came there to be a backup, but that's just how things go in college football. It's comes and goes. But I honestly couldn't fault the system. Couldn't fault the program there. It was run by a great head coach, great special teams coach. It was, for me, I came over to get the experience of starting college football, like be that guy, and and UMass had that opportunity for me, and it was just seeking that opportunity here.
I got a colleague of ours at ESPN, Pat McAfee's known as like a physical punter. Keegan, you're built, man. You look physical. So you stick your head in a few times in the spring. Coaches said, Keegan, back off a little bit. We need you to punt. No tackles. Yeah. And plus, Australian rules football. I know you're physical.
Yeah, no, we tackle a lot in Aussie rules football. Yeah. So that's something that, I don't know, maybe the last couple of years being a punter, I've may have forgotten a bit how to tackle. So, and I've probably got to work on the agility. I've seen some guys out there that can move, and I don't think I can do that.
I want to see him lay somebody out this year. That would be awesome. How cool would that be?
Yep.
Yeah. Look, we're fired up. I mean, look, I know everybody wants to see this team really, kick into high gear and do well. And I mean, I don't know. Just can you give us your take right now on the guys that you do have with you and that are involved in your locker room and the friends that you're making right now to this point, to give us a little bit of an insight on how this team's coming together?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see some of the guys, like everyone's just building. Everyone's building a connection. There was, I think, 20-something transfers that came in, so it was almost a fresh team. And it was just like the culture that is being built is really, really positive, and it's something that I'm enjoying just being around in the bubble, in the locker room. Like there's just camaraderie everywhere, and it's just like, I don't know, I'm really excited just to see how that builds into fall, into like, the game year, and yeah.
We're excited to see you guys. And listen, even for the UMass fans that are watching and listening to this, it's a fresh start going into a new conference and so much to look forward to. So we're excited.
Have a great year out there, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Keegan.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Great meeting you, buddy.
Great meeting.
Yeah, he's. I want to see a fake. I want to see him level someone out. I want to see him kick one 70 yards. Let's hope we get one of those all year.
There's a lot of things I love about him, but a couple off the top. One is he played at Texas A&M, right? Which is arguably like it's a football factory, right? Okay, and so he kind of knows when he talks about culture, right? Yeah. He knows what a winning culture is. So having him in the locker room, I don't care if he's I don't want to say just a punter because that's a huge position, but just having him there where he was, okay? And here's the other thing too, and I know we'll get into it next week too, but all the talk we've had about McGurk Alumni Stadium, the stadium needs to be redone. He played one of the nicest stadiums in all of college football, transfers to UMass. He just wants to play. He wants to play and he wants to win. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? Get the right people and get it done, man.
I know. It's the same thing. I seriously, it's the same thing. But like you said, the stadium has no bearing on whether or not this team should be good this year. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's just get it on the field and go from there. Have you been to Australia, by the way? Have you ever been over there?
I have been. And so my wife and I are fortunate enough. We've traveled a bunch. Yeah, I have been to Australia. It's
like you have.
Very long flight.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. If I go from Philadelphia to Australia, 23 hours, 34 minutes. Once in LA, and then LA.
I actually have I'm gonna pull a Mike Corey. I'm not gonna say this story. I have a pretty funny story. Maybe later in the year, maybe we can remind when Keegan has a great game and we highlight him. I'll bring up. I have a great Australian story flying back home from Australia. But hey, he talked about Pro Kick. It's called Pro Kick Australia.
Okay, yeah.
It's a group that's basically it's all punters, right? Because Aussie rules football, it's all punting. Where they were established in 2007, and it's basically to try to get punters to America to play college football. Since 2007, I just looked up the stats. They've had 270 scholarships awarded for punters. 8 Ray Guy Award winners. That's the top punter in college football. They've had 29 NFL contracts awarded, okay? 3 Super Bowl winners, 2 national champions, and I think they've actually had 8 full-time punters in the NFL that were from Pro Kick Australia. So it's a pretty cool organization.
Yeah, that's why we're so fired up to have one of the Australians over here. Yeah, exactly. Now, by the way, this story, is this a story about me, something I did, or is
no, it's about
like Tory-esque story?
You want me just to say Oh, man,
I gotta say it, right? Because everyone's gonna get mad. So, well, what is it? I'm not gonna get in trouble.
No, I'll say it. It has to do with me being a jerk to my wife. So,
oh, okay.
So
I'm not getting in trouble. Then go ahead.
Yeah. So we're flying back, and my daughter's coming in. I'm on a podcast. Back off. She just flew back from. She was in Europe for 2 weeks. Speaking of flying, so
yeah, you guys are.
I fly Delta. You know that, Mike. I fly exclusively Delta. So a little pro trip. If you're ever taking a trip like around the world, like me going to Australia, if you're not flying the airline that you have status with, which we weren't, a lot of times that competing airline will let you sign up for their program, and then if you're diamond medallion or platinum medallion for Delta, they'll automatically give you that for a year because they want to steal your business.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I did that. I don't even remember. I don't know if it was United or American. I forgot what it was, but it wasn't Delta. So I did that. So I immediately had status. Okay. On the flight back, I got upgraded to first class. So it's one of the pods, like the whole 9 yards, right? So I tell my wife, it's like a 20. I tell my wife, I said, I'll go in there, okay? And halfway through, I'll come. She's in the back of the plane. We're with her friend. She wasn't alone. It was a big group we were traveling with.
Yeah.
But I got upgraded, okay, to first class. I said, I'll come back and switch with you. Well, I fell asleep, man. And I never switched. She was so pissed off.
You fell asleep for 23 hours? I
was like up. I was up and I was eating and it was great. And right before we got to the halfway mark, I fell asleep, because I had eaten. I had fallen asleep. So by the time I woke up, there was 4 hours left. And I went back there and she was pissed. And not only that, she was in the back of the plane. So when they got to her, a bunch of the dinner items they had run out of. So she was so pissed off at me. So
her husband
said jerk.
Why did she come up?
Now, listen,
she should have come up and woke you up. Like she'd have been like, "Get up!" It's
exactly. Put it on her. She should have came up there and grabbed me by the ear. And I will say this too, to my defense, the way the pod was.
Yeah,
I was here, and the person next to me was like in the pod, kind of next to me.
So they couldn't get you.
I had to kind of get him out of the way to get out. So it kind of screwed me up a little bit. But yeah, that was my story coming back from Australia.
Yeah, God's sake.
All right, enough of my screw up.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah,
going to be 24 years though, still going.
Yeah, I think you're doing all right. You got through it. Yeah, no multiple trips to Australia, but
all right. Listen, great show. Listen, everyone out there, follow this podcast. Subscribe, MinutemanCommand.com. It's free. You get this podcast automatically along with all the breakdowns, all the articles, all the new signees, all the videos, everything you want goes right to your email. It helps us out. It helps UMass football out, UMass athletics. Of course, we're going to do basketball this year too. So follow us. The season's right around the corner. And go read that article from Matt Baker and The Athletic, because we're going to break it down next week.
And how about this, man? Happy Memorial Day weekend. Can you believe that? This is ridiculous. Yeah.
Summer is here, baby. Summer is here.
Wow. Hope it's a good one for everyone. We'll catch you next Wednesday. See ya.